It's official. Stellantis just walked out on Canada. After taking billions in taxpayer subsidies, after being praised as the future of Canada's EV industry, the automaker has packed its bags and moved production to Donald Trump's America. No warning, no hesitation, just gone. Factories in Ontario that were once symbols of progress are now facing silence and pink slips. The shock isn't just about jobs. It's about betrayal. Canada bent over backwards to secure this deal. Massive incentives, government backing, even public celebrations when the agreement was signed. And now, all of that loyalty has been traded for American politics and bigger U.S. subsidies. For workers in Brampton and Windsor, this isn't a business decision. It's a gut punch. In Ottawa, the anger is unmistakable. Prime Minister Mark Carney isn't treating this like another corporate dispute. He's treating it like a national insult. Behind the calm tone and careful words, the message is crystal clear. If you take Canadian money and then run to Trump's America, you'll face consequences. When a reporter tried to corner him, suggesting that Canada's contracts were weak and unenforceable, Carney didn't flinch. He didn't deflect. He went straight for the jugular.
That's not a fair and accurate description of the contract that the federal government signed with Stellantis. The premise of your question is categorically wrong with respect to the federal government. Full stop.
That exchange sent a message far beyond the press room. Carney wasn't simply responding to a journalist. He was sending a message to all of the multinationals watching. Canada won't be pushed around. He disclosed that he personally phoned Stellantis' global CEO, expressed his disappointment, and insisted on accountability for all promises made to Canadian workers. Because this isn't just about one automaker, it's about whether Canada still makes its own economic choices. If one company can siphon off billions of Canadian taxpayers' money and then flee to Washington the instant Trump threatens tariffs, what's to prevent others from doing the same? The Stellantis drama has turned into a test of power and principle. Can Canada resist American pressure and fight for its industries, or will it perpetually be the convenient default when America alters the rules? One thing's for sure, the quiet is over. Canada is taking a stand, and the outrage is boiling over into the public as leaders and workers alike get ready to push back against this betrayal. Canada's ire isn't simmering, it's boiling over. Ontario Premier Doug Ford was not shy when the news broke. Stellantis isn't simply relocating jobs, it's making a statement. Canadian workers are disposable. And Ford's reaction? Straight talking.
We need to start hitting back and hitting back hard. That's the only thing this person understands. Sorry, I just get pumped up talking about this guy. He drives me absolutely crazy. He does. And we aren't going to roll over. I'm not going to let him roll over Ontario, I'll tell you that.
The flames of his rhetoric were palpable. To Ford, this is not about politics. This is about principle, pride, and defending the economic backbone of the province. The Premier sent a clear message. Canada will not silently stand by while a multinational walks away from its obligations simply because Washington waved a larger carrot. And the outrage does not end there with Ford. Around the country, workers, unions, and politicians are waking up to the fact that if Stellantis gets away with this, what's to prevent the next firm from doing the same? The union bosses weren't being coy with their words either. To them, Brampton is not a factory. It's a line in the sand.
They will keep coming until they have weakened us as a nation and as an economy. The line in the sand is Brampton, and we have to push back as a country.
The rage is visceral, the stakes are high, and the message could not be more plain. Canada will not be pushed around. Each word from Ford, each rallying call from the unions, and each angry press conference is adding to the pressure, issuing a warning not only to Stellantis, but to all multinationals who believe that Canada is easily pushed around. This isn't merely about EVs or employment, it's about whether Canada finally begins to fight its industries and workers with the same passion that Trump's America fights its own. The national debate has changed, and Canada woke up to the fact that doing nothing is no longer a choice. The anger didn't end with the politicians. For the frontline workers, the betrayal was intimate. Stellantis wasn't merely relocating work, it was shattering confidence with those who had constructed Canada's automotive sector from scratch. Union officials came forward with a threat that this battle wasn't done yet, and Brampton had become the symbolic battle line for an even greater war. Their voices had meaning because they represented thousands of workers, pointing to a grim reality. If it was acceptable for Stellantis to back away from its promises, then other firms might do the same. But Ottawa responded fast and forcefully. Mélanie Joly, Canada's federal minister, sent a strong message that the government would not sit idly by while firms buckled to U.S. pressure.
It's completely unacceptable. So we will fight for these jobs.
Let's make sure that they understand that there are real consequences.
Joly's message did not leave room for interpretation. Canada had spent decades pumping billions into these firms, and now those investments came with expectations. Safeguard Canadian jobs, respect Canadian contracts, and treat Canadian workers fairly. All of this, political heat from Ford, urgency from the unions, and accountability from Joly, produced a clear message. Canada was resolute. This was not about Stellantis or EV manufacture any longer. It was one of Canada exercising its sovereignty and sending a signal that economic bullying would be unacceptable. All the words, all the press conferences, all the letters to the firm reiterated one thing. No corporation, however big, is above the law in Canada or its people. While the Stellantis controversy was brewing, a larger question was on everyone's mind. How does Canada assure its economic future without being shackled to Washington politics? While the U.S. threatened tariffs and enticed companies with subsidies, a new opportunity went silently on the horizon. China, a world leader in EVs, presented a bold proposal. Eliminate Canada's 100% EV tariff, and China would lift crippling tariffs on Canadian canola. This was no mere trade talk. It could unlock billions for Canadian farmers and open doors to new EV investment at home. Rather than pursuing U.S. subsidies, Canada might construct EV factories fueled by Canadian components, Canadian workers, and Canadian renewable energy, aligning with countries that prefer cooperation over coercion. The dialogue was no longer merely about Stellantis. It was about whether Canada could at last prioritize its own interests.
Canada can take a much higher level approach to this. Mr. Carney will be going to China, and I think that this is all part of that wider discussion. The Americans can't always have it their way, that they remove things from Canada and then expect us to stay in lockstep with them.
The stakes were international. As Stellantis did politics with employment in Ontario, Canada could have been redefining its trade relations, shoring up domestic industries, and preventing its people from being pulled into a struggle of superpowers. This was about more than battery electric vehicles. It was about Canadians getting back control of their economy and making strategic choices that served Canadians first. Each step, each negotiation, and each new alliance was a signal that Canada was changing course. The government in Ottawa, provincial premiers, and industry thinkers were converging on one concept. Canada had to go its own way, not succumb to the dictates of Washington. Now the challenge was out in the open. Was Canada acting rapidly enough to convert crisis into lasting gain? The Stellantis debacle, the political blaze of Doug Ford, the union's position in Brampton, and the aggressive actions on the international stage all point to one irrefutable conclusion. Canada will no longer be treated as an economic afterthought. The choices being made in Ottawa, in Ontario, and in boardrooms globally are speaking loud and clear. Canadian workers, Canadian industries, and Canadian interests first. Mark Carney, Doug Ford, and Mélanie Joly might not see eye to eye on all issues, but today they spoke as one voice. Canada is not going to be played, bought, or bullied. The stakes are greater than one factory or one automaker. This is about whether Canada has the courage to lead itself and defend its future. As the world economy changes and new partnership structures emerge, Canada has the opportunity to forge its own path, one that values innovation, equity, and the people who created this nation. From Brampton factory floors to the negotiating tables of Beijing, Canada is proving to the world that it will stand up for its industries and its workers. If you think that a proud, free Canada should put its workers and industries ahead of everyone else, then now is the time to make some noise. Subscribe, get informed, and join this discussion because this narrative is just getting started, and every Canadian has a stake in what comes next.